Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Now this one is a bit different. This is actually something I have not done in a long time. And that is a thoughts and theories video. I figured I would do a little fun video for you guys because I haven't done one of these in a while. Now this is not really, this is not something that's actually confirmed, but something more so, like theories and, my thoughts on, theories of what could happen if this or that happened. And I haven't actually done one of these in a while, so I figured why not do one of these again? So I mean, some people might have different theories on this, as well. But in today's, video, I want to do a, theory on what would happen if Universal bought Disney. So, like, what would have happened if Universal bought Disney? Because I know a lot of companies are getting bought right now by different studios, and there's even some that are kind of bouncing around. So I was thinking, like, this could be an interesting video to talk about. Like I said, it's not confirmed. It's not even, been announced or anything. It's just a theory. There is one that I want to talk about with Sony and Warner Brothers, but that'll be on a different video because that'll be more something that's actually been, disgusting and all that. Like, it hasn't been confirmed, but there's talking about, Sony possibly buying Warner Brothers. So that kind of got me thinking about this. I've actually been wanting to do this video for quite a long time, actually. For actually months, and I never really got around to doing it. So I figured why not do, this. So if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You guys can keep up, with stuff there. And, I also, I will mention this. I probably won't mention this one in every single video because I haven't really confirmed if I'll be doing this or not, but I figure I'll mention it here. That I do have a DaVinci art thing, so I make art, for people. This is for an older audience, so I might make some art. Maybe I might sell some stuff, for some, money, but like I said, it'll be suggestions from people. So, like I said, it'll be like fetish stuff people have, because people have some fetish, and all that, but, like, I'm not very into the stuff, but I figured, that could be a good way to make a little bit of money, plus I can practice my art for when I, when I do some of this down the road, Now, like I said, some of these notifications are seeing popping up from my Linky and all that, that's, like, from stuff from, like, like I was practicing my art and all that, like, design for characters. Unfortunately, I think it only has been doing sex stuff. I'm like, I want to just make actual stories, but, like, honestly, though, I kind of rather just come up with my own stories, but it is kind of curious to see what the AI does, but I don't know why it can't be just, like, it has to be sex-related, but that's kind of what that does, but that's kind of like why I'm thinking maybe I can, try it. Like I said, I can try it, if I don't like it, I don't have to do it anymore, but, yeah, there's that. But, like I said, it's something that's on the mind right now. I don't know if I'll actually continue doing it, but I figured it'd be a good way to maybe make some money. I don't know. I don't know if I'll sell any yet or not. I guess I don't know. I'm just trying it out right now to see how it goes. But, anywho, though, let's go ahead and actually discuss this. So, like I said, too, this is a theory, Well, not a theory, it's more of a what if, so I figured, this is kind of what this is here. So yeah, like, what would happen, like I said, if Universal would bought Disney? That's the thing, though, like, both companies are very massive, and both of them have a lot of similar IP to one another. Both have theme parks, both own a bunch of stuff. Both have news outlets, both have what their own smaller companies, like Universal's got, DreamWorks and Illumination, which I don't know if they actually own all of Illumination, but I know they at least are partnered up with them. Like I said, I don't know if they actually own Illumination or not. I knew that they have them in their parks, so I don't know if that's like a Pixar thing, back in the day, because Pixar was just partnered up with Disney. I don't know, but I think Universal might actually own Illumination. I don't know, but they do own DreamWorks and all that, so they're both very big competitors, because, Disney owns Pixar, or they own Lucasfilm, they now own Fox. So I guess in a way, I think Disney would be a little bit bigger than Universal because they own Fox's library, I like Fox's library, I mean, like 20th Century Fox and all. They don't own, like, their news outlet and sports. So they don't actually own the Fox name. But they also have their streaming services, too. They got Hulu, and then, or they got Hulu, and, like Disney Plus, Universal's got, Peacock and all that. So, and I think they might have their own sports, too. I don't know. It's very interesting. Like, I think they have wrestling, like Mania and all that, but I don't know if they still own that or not. I know there's a lot of episodes on there, but I don't know, it's just very interesting. So, like, what would happen if I said Universal decided one day to buy, Disney? That's kind of where the interesting part is, because if they were to buy Disney, I'm not saying Universal would buy Disney, because I don't know, I would say probably if they... Honestly, I kind of wish that Disney could get sold off to somebody else, because I do think they've kind of, they've really fallen, and they've lost all their creativity pretty much. I mean, they got some left in the company, but pretty much most of it's kind of gone and all that. A lot of people have left and gone to, Universal and other competitors. It really sucks, but I was gonna say, though, if Universal was to buy Disney, they could actually buy Disney. I mean, they have the money, they could buy them. Actually, I think in the past, before, Bob Iger became the CEO back in 2005, I think there was talk that Universal was interested in buying it, but I don't think Disney was willing to sell, to them. But I'm just like, thinking, like I said, it'd be interesting to see what would happen if they were to buy it. That's the problem, though, because like I said, Disney is, I think, bigger than Universal when it comes to, content. That said, though, they're not as popular as they once were either, because they made a lot of horrible decisions, and, people are not happy with it. But that's the thing, though, like, what would happen, I guess, if they were able to buy it? One thing I will say is they'd probably be forced to sell some stuff off. Like, I don't think they would be allowed to, buy, they wouldn't be able to own ABC News and all that, because they already have their news outlet. They already have, Universal already has their own news outlet. So they wouldn't be able to acquire that. In sports, like I said, I don't know if Universal owns any sports networks. I do know they have, like I said, wrestling on there, but I think I heard something about Netflix gaining some rights to that, so I don't really know. So they probably wouldn't have that. They probably would shut Disney Plus down, because I think if Universal was to buy Disney, I think they would probably shut down their platform, because they already have Peacock. They don't need Peacock. They don't need Peacock, because they don't need Disney Plus because they already have Peacock, And then, like I said, probably with Fox, I think because, they already, that'd be too many franchises. I think they would probably be forced to sell, like, Fox and all that. They probably would keep Marvel, though, I would think. I think they'd probably keep Marvel. And actually, a lot of the Marvel rides are actually at the parks right now. I think they're having licensing issues, though. Like, I think eventually their lease will be up. Because they also have the Simpsons rides at Universal, too, and all that. I think those will probably be eventually, taken over by Disney and all that, Like I said, if Disney doesn't get sold off to a company, because I mean, they probably would still go back to the company, but I guess it depends on who would buy it. Because I keep saying this, I do think Disney's probably going to eventually get sold off to a company. That's just my theory. But like I said, I'm not saying Universal would buy it. Because, I mean, Netflix come in and buy out Disney. They could have, like, Apple come in and buy it. Because there was rumors that Apple would buy Disney, you know. There was a lot of rumors going around, you know. So, I don't know. It's kind of, you know, all those things. But yeah, I think they're eventually going to get sold off. I think it's gonna happen, but yeah, I don't know. But that's the thing though too. It's like with the whole park stuff. So I mean, if you know Universal got Marvel, like they would have no reason to. Well, they have no reason to like you know take their rides out of the parks because they would own Marvel. Like they would actually own Marvel, so they would have no reason to take the rides out. You know, so that they would have the rides, and they would also have the Simpsons. I don't know. I don't know what they would sell, because like I said, would have Fox's library, but that's the thing. That's where the tricky part comes in, because like I said, you know, Disney was, like, I haven't really brought this up much, but Disney had a hard time actually buying Fox as it is, because of an antitrust law. Yeah, they were able to acquire it, but they had to, like, I think they had to sell some of their assets off. But I'm like, I feel like that would mean Universal would be a little too big, and they'd probably be forced to sell some of the stuff off. But that's the thing, though, too. I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of, you know, interesting what would happen here. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could, like I said, they could probably sell off, like I said, they would sell off ABC, because they probably wouldn't need that. And then they would I think they would probably keep Star Wars. I think they'd probably keep Lucasfilm and all that, but I think it's more so, like, if they actually bought Disney, they probably would be more, they probably wouldn't be selling as much stuff. They'd be probably more forced to sell stuff, you know, but I don't know, but I think probably Hulu would probably be shut down. I think they would probably shut Hulu down. I think that's probably what would happen. They probably would just shut Hulu down, because I guess Disney has now full control over Hulu. But honestly, I think Disney at this point, I think it's going to shut Hulu down anyway. But like, again, this is like right now. Like, this is like, if Universal were to announce they would acquire, you know, the Walt Disney Company, you know, like. But another thing I would probably say too, like, if they were to acquire, you know, a lot of, you know, these animators that have left the company would probably be working, you know, with the Disney Company again, with the Disney brand, and probably would have all their stuff. But then we have the parks. The parks are the other thing. I don't know what would happen, because I'm not very familiar with the whole park thing, you know, so. Because not too many companies actually have their very own park. So I don't know, like, if they would be forced to shut down, you know, Disney World or Universal Parks or something, or be forced to sell it off. I don't know how that would work. If they were to buy it, because, like I said, Disney would not. I mean, Universal probably wouldn't be able to get Disney World because they already have their own parks. But then again, I don't know, because they also have multiple parks. So I don't know how that exactly would work if they were to acquire them. You know, I don't know how that would work. Like I said, that's a theory there about that. But I don't know. I just think there's not really a whole lot to say about this. But yeah, I just think it was an interesting theory. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how this would work, but like I said, they'd probably be forced. Like I said, they wouldn't be able to buy everything that Disney has, because, like I said, that'd be an antitrust law. But like I said, I think they would shut down ABC News and all that. They wouldn't have ABC News. And then channels, like, I think some of the channels like Disney has probably be shut down too, because there would be too many of them. Like, I don't know, I think there would probably be. Like I said, it's a very interesting concept, because, like I said, both companies are massive. And yeah, Disney is a bit bigger than Universal, you know. And like I've said, when they bought Fox, they were already having some problems buying that. So if Universal were to buy Disney, they would run in probably to some similar problems. You know, so But Universal, like I don't think they don't have like Marvel and all that, but I think they probably would keep Marvel because they would have the rights, They would actually have the rights in their parks. But yeah, but that's the thing though. This is all just theories. Like I'm not saying this is actually going to happen. This is just a concept, a theory on what would what this or that would happen. But I figured I'd make this video because there are a lot of I think Hollywood is trying to merge together to survive and all that. And like I said, I think Disney is probably going to get sold off because Disney is in not very good shape. I mean, their parks are helping them, with their money-wise, but as a brand, I think they are very damaged bad, and I think the only way they're going to get out of this mess is if they were sold off. But like I said, I don't know if they would get sold to Universal. It's a possibility, but I think maybe like Netflix or like Netflix could come in and buy them, or another tech company like Apple could come in and buy it too. It's very interesting, but I don't know. I could probably see Universal wanting to buy it too, because I mean, Universal also has a lot of things that Disney, has that they probably would want. Like I said, Marvel, because like I said, they have all these attractions in their parks. The same with The Simpsons. If they were to acquire Disney, they would have all these assets in the parks. But also, with the Fox stuff and all that, that'd be a little bit more difficult because that's a big library of stuff. So they'd probably be forced to sell stuff off. But Universal probably could also sell off, they could probably sell off FX or something, and just keep the Fox movie library or something, or... Because technically, I want to clarify this too, Disney actually doesn't own all the 20th Century Fox movies. Because like other studios, Disney, was also a studio as well that Fox was a, studio like Disney and all of them back in the day, they would license out stuff. So their brand would, be part of other stuff. So, Star Wars. 20th Century Fox didn't own Star Wars. They only owned the merchandise rights and all that, I think, to A New Hope, but they didn't own, the franchise. That was George Lucas. Some of these other movies were the same way. They just happened to be part of the Fox brand. Even Alvin and the Chipmunks. That was actually, partnered up with Disney. With 20th Century Fox. So they have the 20th Century Fox logo on when you go to watch them, but they don't actually own the movies, But they do own, Disney does own, the Home Alone movies. They do own, Ice Age and all that. They own a lot of this stuff, So, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think, it would be interesting if Universal were to buy Disney. But I don't know if they would or not. I mean, that's the thing. I think Universal has a lot of money. They probably could come in there and swipe out Disney if they wanted to. Plus, they had the $10 billion, and plus, who knows how much for, when Disney bought out Hulu underneath them. So, I mean, they could come in there and swipe them out and buy them, but that's, of course, that Disney's willing to sell, and that's the problem. I think with the leadership right now, I said, I don't think they're going to want to sell right now, but I said they're going to have to do something, because that's the problem. Like I said, I know people are probably tired of me talking about this, but like I said, their brand is very damaged. Their movies are not performing as well. And either they're going to have to change their leadership and the board, they're going to have somebody come in there that'll actually course correct everything, or they're going to have to sell, I think that's the only way they're going to get saved. But I don't know. But like I said, this is all a theory. It doesn't mean this is all going to happen, but that's just my theory. But anywho, guys, tell me what you guys think about this in the comments below. What would you think would happen if Universal were to buy Disney? What would you think would happen? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to be respectful, for your own opinions. And I'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye.